Hi everybody, I'm Amber Johnson with Helping the Good People. Welcome back to my channel. I'm over here at the park trying to release some stress. I tell you, I've been going through it the last couple weeks. Between my family and what I call an ultimate betrayal by someone I trusted and loved, it's been very challenging to keep my head up, that's for sure. We always seem to put on a smiling face and pretend like everything is okay when it's really not. And that is not healthy or therapeutic in any way, shape, or form. I was reading a book that I got from school today called The Upside of Stress and how stress is beneficial for you. But lately, it hasn't felt that way. Trying to figure out what my next steps are, why I'm stressed out, and it was nice to read some research on the topic. It's about tending and befriending. That is what it's called. A tend and befriend theory began as an investigation into female response to stress, which quickly expanded to include men. For those of you that don't know, stress helps motivate self-defense. It unleashes the instinct to protect your tribe. Both men and women have been shown to become more trusting, generous, and willing to risk their own well-being to protect others. Stress doesn't always make you kinder, can make you angry and defensive when fight or flight kicks in. It makes you become more aggressive and withdrawn. So, stress doesn't always lead to caring, but it can and often does make people more caring. Just in case you guys are wondering what I'm reading from, Kelly McGonigal, The Upside of Stress, Why Stress is Good for You and How to Get Good at It. This book was given to me by school for my health and wellness coaching class. So I'm just going to read to you a little bit more of the notes that I took about stress, and I'm going to leave it here for you guys. And I'm hoping that you can take something from it, and if you're stressed out, thinking that there's no way out, just know there is. There's always a way out. So a tend to befriend can be cultivated by focusing on bigger than self goals, supporting others, and a choice to see stress and suffering as a common human experience. It's a natural response to stress and a source of resilience. Caring for others, it changes our biochemistry. It activates the brain that produces feelings of hope and courage. It protects against harmful effects of chronic or traumatic stress. So it's a natural response. Stress is natural, just like any other emotion. Caring creates resilience. If we turn our attention to our loved ones to comfort, support, or help them, that is a tend to befriend response, an act of courage and bravery. When we look for ways to escape the distress we feel about their suffering, it pulls our attention away from our loved ones, and we become less able and willing to help. So instead of reaching out to help someone in stress, we tend to want to escape the stress, which leaves us vulnerable and less able or willing to help. Does that sound like you? I really hope that what I'm saying you can understand. So I'm just going to keep going, because when I try to expand some things, I get a little mixed up. So let me just finish reading and then we'll talk about it. So when we try to escape, we become less able or willing to help, right? So we may retreat physically or mentally, turning to avoidance coping strategies to ease our own discomfort, which causes what is called a compassion collapse. which happens by trying to avoid the stress we feel about their stress, and we become paralyzed instead of mobilized. So sometimes our family stresses, our friends' stresses, other stresses can actually become paralyzing instead of mobilizing, even though we don't know that it's happening. Their discomfort causes us stress. It causes us to freeze, like we don't know what to do, right? By reaching out to loved ones, holding hands, it increases the reward of caregiving system in the brain. It decreases activity in the amygdala that triggers fear and avoidance. Compared to people holding a stress ball, it didn't reduce the stress. It actually caused participants reinforced a feeling of powerlessness. So the two choices when it comes to dealing with others, which is by holding someone's hand, it makes them feel safe. It decreases their triggers of fear and avoidance compared to someone who's given a stress ball and left alone in the stress, which reinforces a feeling of powerlessness. Pretty crazy when you put it that way, right? I never thought about it until I read it this morning, and then it's like, oh, I get it. No wonder why we feel helpless sometimes to help others. It gets so stressful, it just paralyzes you. So, when we care, comfort, and help others, we experience hope and connection. Small actions like holding a hand create a biology of courage. So try to find hope, not escape. Doing something to support others can help you sustain your motivation and optimism. Helping others helps transform stress. It transforms, boosts confidence, shifts the biology, reducing feelings of overwhelm. It boosts your mood. It uplifts you by a sense of generosity to help. So, by helping others, it transforms the stress. It takes you outside of your own problems, and it gives you a reason to benefit and help someone else. So, choosing to help others is a way to access the resilience that goes along with a tend to befriend response. Helping others is the most powerful motivation booster when you struggle with avoidance, self-doubt, or feeling overwhelmed. It's hard to imagine that right now, but the more I think about it in the last 5 years of my suffering and everything that I've done to give back, it actually makes me proud to know that I have definitely taken a different perspective when it comes to transforming my own stress. I didn't realize how important it was to help others, especially when I'm stressed out. But it makes me feel good to know that my stress is actually a good thing. Okay, what else? Let me see here. Difficult circumstances gives rise to great acts of kindness because suffering provokes a basic need to help others. The instinct to help others when you yourself are suffering or struggling has been dubbed altruism born of suffering. People that suffer the most seem to help the most. That makes sense. So, in other words, help others when you're stressed out, no matter how bad you feel. Helping others transforms fear into bravery and powerlessness to optimism. During stress, the will to help others is more crucial to survival. The instinct to help when we ourselves are suffering plays an important role in preventing a defeat response. What is a defeat response? Well, states here, defeat response is a response to repeated victimization that leads to a loss of appetite, social isolation, depression, and even suicide. I've been there before. Its main effect is to make you withdraw, losing motivation, hope, and the desire to connect with others. It becomes impossible to see the meaning in your life or to imagine any action that could take that would improve the situation. Basically takes away all hope from getting better. That's what the defeat response does. That is where I've been sitting. Reading that, I'm like, wow. You know, I never thought that the stress would cause such a defeat in me, you know? Me being so strong and, you know, doing so much all the time. And it's like, wait a minute. I can't keep doing that. The defeat response has got to be overcome, guys. But the only way to do that is to connect with others, to talk about it, to express how we're feeling, and then to seek ways to help others. It's like a magnet, you know? It's just an automatic response. So it kicks in only when you feel that you have been beaten by your own circumstances or rejected by your community. When you feel there's nothing that you can do and nobody cares. Anyone relate to that? Helping others transforms our suffering, and it protects us from the effects of severe life stress and physical health. Helping others can increase empathy and a desire to help more. It has shown to greatly reduce cholesterol and inflammation. Wow. Increases self-esteem. It improves health. People who are underprivileged or are survivors of chronic or traumatic stress are seen as only victims, damaged by their experience and having little left to offer. So when you meet someone that is suffering like that, there's two types of interventions. One of them can hurt them, and the other one can help them. Interventions that reinforce this view that they are damaged by their experience and having little left to offer. People that intervene in that situation, that reinforce that statement, may do more harm than good if they make them feel like second-class citizens in their community. But interventions that recognize survivors' strengths and put those resources to work offer a promising counterbalance to the psychological toll of always being the one in need of help. So it kind of gives a role reversal. It seeks the strengths rather than the weaknesses. And then the intervening party then can find ways to help them with their strengths to get out of it. Wouldn't you rather help than enable? It's only common humanity. Common humanity. What is that? Well, people who feel alone in their suffering are more likely to become depressed, avoid coping strategies, denial, giving up on their goals, and avoid stressful experiences all around. They are less likely to tell others and are less likely to receive help. In other words, they keep it bottled up. People who understand that suffering is a part of life are more happier and resilient and more satisfied with life. They are more open about their struggles and more likely to receive support from others. So on that common humanity scale, which one are you? Are you the one that's feeling alone, depressed, avoiding, or are you the one that says, life's normal, this is normal, and then finding ways to get out of it? Some of us don't have the tools to do that. If I hadn't spent years going to groups and therapy sessions over the years to help with my anxiety and stuff, I would have never known that the tools were there. So for people that don't have those tools, if you ran across someone who was depressed and down, what would you do to help them? Would you label them, or would you try to find the positives in their suffering to help them see a better way out? When we suffer, we can see it as a worldview that we are alone. Watching Facebook, pretending to be okay, pretending to be happy can cause more depression. It can lead to greater sense of isolation and less satisfaction for life. And that's because our lives seem dull and like we feel like giving up. And then we see our friends or other families happy, and we see them in their videos, and that they're together and that they're I can't even explain it, except for what you see affects you. So if you're sad and you're feeling like giving up, the last thing you want to do is to turn on Facebook and see all these friends of yours living it up and traveling and doing all these other things. For me, that makes me more depressed. It does. It's not an envious thing. It's not a jealousy thing. It's just like, how come they're so happy and I'm not? It's that part of feeling alone in the world. But if we look at it as we're not alone, and that people can display many things to mask what's really going on. So, how do you find a mindset of common humanity if what you usually feel is isolated by your problems? First is to increase your awareness of other people's suffering, to be more happier with yours. So in this book, one of the studies, one of the teachers who was teaching this class with, I think, high school students, they had them write down a question and then answer it. The question was, write down something you've struggled with and that continues to affect you now, but that no one would know looking at them. Make the invisible visible. That is something that needs to be addressed. That is something that you need to really look at and ask yourself, which side of humanity are you on? Are you on the side of depression, denial, giving up? Or are you willing to see a different way and to know that your suffering is not just yours, but it's a worldly thing? That each one of us has something we're stressed about, something we have to overcome. So be honest with yourself. Get out your journal. Write this down and admit it to yourself. Or you can do as this classroom did. Keep it confidential. Do a group with people and have them write down something that they're suffering for that you would have never known. I guarantee you're going to find out that your life's not as bad as others. What I do know is that helping others can increase empathy and a desire to help more. It reduces cholesterol and inflammation. Oh my goodness, there's just so many benefits to it. There's support one another. Don't avoid. Find a way. Tend to befriend can be cultivated by focusing on bigger than self goals, supporting others, and a choice to see stress and suffering as a common human experience. Remember, it's a natural response to stress. All this stuff you're feeling, all this stuff you're going through is a natural response. Caring for others changes our biochemistry. It produces hope and courage, and it protects against harmful effects of chronic or traumatic stress. That is a lot to take in, but I'm glad to be sitting here at the park today in the sun talking to you about this. I'm not going to lie, I have not been doing all that great lately with my stress level. But I do know that there's a reason for it. Sometimes it takes a while for us to see it. What is it all for? Why are we going through it? And why do we let others dictate who we are? All I know is reading this. Where is it at? Just give me a moment. There was something that I wanted to talk about. The defeat response. This is where I've been basically sitting. When I read this, I went, wow, there I am, right there. But then when I read this too, it made me think of something that recently happened to me related to my relationship and what I call an ultimate betrayal. I still don't know what happened or why it happened. But what I do know is that my heart was in it fully. My love for this person was honest. It was true and authentic. And I know that I did nothing wrong. So I don't know why I'm beating myself up about it. I think it was because I got played. I got played the biggest player of them all. 6 years on and off. Just to come to find out that not only was he lying about his feelings for me, but our whole entire relationship was a sham. Talk about stress going through the roof. Response to repeated victimization that leads to a loss of appetite, social isolation, depression, and even suicide. The last thing this man told me before I got out of the car was that I should go and kill myself. Who does that? Who does that? But a victim themselves. Victim of circumstance. Someone who's not brave enough to admit when they did wrong. They're not brave enough to admit when enough is enough. I guess in a nutshell, that is the only kindest thing that I can say right now in relation to my stress. What I do know is I'm tired of not being able to eat. I'm tired of being depressed. I'm tired of having suicidal thoughts. Okay? I'm tired of withdrawing. It's time for me to connect, to reconnect. Because it does become impossible to see the meaning in your life and imagine any action that you could take that would improve your situation. And it's only because you feel beaten by your own circumstances and rejected by your community. In my instance, I was rejected by a man who I loved for 6 years. I am also affected by what's going on with my family, my children, and all I can pray for is to continue to voice it, to continue to do these videos, to continue to help others transform their suffering. Because in the end of it, it affects life on the physical and the health, spiritual as well. Helping others transforms fear into bravery and powerlessness to optimism. I can only remain optimistic of what my future has, because I know that I'm worth it. Welcome to my world. They know me here. It's my old license plate. Welcome to my world. They know me here. Well, now you know me. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share to my channel if you wish. And if you're still listening to this, give me a thumbs up so I know you watched it. Stay tuned as I expand my channel to include more stuff like this, which is why I started this channel 5 years ago, was to be a voice for domestic violence, to give resource help to victims, and to help find a way out. No matter what, this too is a part of the cycle. The will to survive is at stake. Just remember, during stress, the will to help others is more crucial to survival. The instinct to help when we ourselves are suffering plays an important role in preventing a defeat response.